this is Irvin Griffin, and welcome to a special edition of Grown Man Talk. I actually made a Facebook live video on this earlier, but now I'm going to do it for YouTube of Grown Man Talk. Of course, you see here a picture of now former Today Show host Matt Lauer. And let me say this came as a complete shock. We actually air a morning show that comes on right before the Today Show. That airs right before the Today Show. And we were just as stunned as anybody. The first thing we see, Matt Lauer terminated. That was the first thing we saw. And all of our mouths was dropped on the floor. In fact, I'd say most of the staff at the place where I work, that's probably, at least at one point or another, talked about what went on this morning. But I gotta say, even though I don't wish nobody to lose their job, the fact that this came up, now granted, I know I've heard some people say, well, it happened in 2014 and it's just coming up just now. And I'll admit, the rash of people coming forward with sexual harassment, rape, and allegations against these various people over the past couple of months, I'll admit, some of them I believe, and some of them I'm like, I don't know. But I will say, I have to say that this one, I can't believe that NBC, if they didn't have solid evidence or something solid, that they wouldn't have done this. Because if in fact it's allegations and they're proven to be not true, Matt Lauer would have one heck of a lawsuit. So I have to believe NBC had something solid. And to be quite honest, considering Matt Lauer's questionable history with women, this may not be that surprising. What I'm about to read, this comes from timeinc.net, and there's several facets I'm going to cover with this. The firing of Today's Show host Matt Lauer, the second morning TV host from one of the three major networks after Charlie Rose, to lose his job this month after his treatment of female colleagues or subordinates came to light, would seem to conclusively end what had been one of the most consequential careers on TV. In a memo, NBC chairman Andy Lack said that the network received a detailed complaint, quote, detailed complaint from a colleague about inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace by Matt Lauer, unquote, adding that the organization has, quote, reason to believe that this may not have been an isolated incident, unquote. For more than 20 years, Lauer has been a constant on NBC's cash cow news and entertainment broadcast. He came in as co-host in January of 1997 as the less starry partner to Katie Couric, but as soon as she left in 2006, he was the Today Show's real anchor, the more recognizable and dominant conversation partner to Meredith Vieira, Ann Curry, and most recently Savannah Guthrie. It wasn't quite the Matt Lauer show, but that may have at times been semantic. Lauer got many of the big interviews, and his particularly wiry yet knife-twisting style of interviewing defined the show's voice. Much of that, given what has been alleged against him, now comes in for re-evaluation. Like, for most instances, the events surrounding one co-host's departure, that I figured this would come up, because I remember it came up hard when it first happened. I'm speaking, of course, of the incident involving Ann Curry. Ann Curry and Lauer, getting back to the article, Ann Curry and Lauer were reported not to have gotten along, and Lauer was reported to have been a major factor in her leaving the show in 2012. And this comes from a unidentified source. He says, quote, It was obvious to the show's executive producers and others that Lauer wasn't trying hard enough to make it work with Curry because he simply didn't like her. Off air, Curry and Lauer had no relationship and barely spoke. If he stayed, Curry would be gone, unquote. And this was reported in the New York Magazine in 2013. When she announced her departure on air, Curry openly wept and grimly turned away from Lauer. The striking and abrupt nature of Curry's departure and the reporting tagging Lauer as a key factor hurt the anchors and his show's reputation for some time. But through sheer force of persistence and an able and likable co-host in Savannah Guthrie, today's show found its way back. But Lauer's presence on the show raises retrospective questions too about the host's ability to shape the news and perception. Some months after Curry had left, for instance, Lauer interviewed Anne Hathaway, who in her promotion for the film Les Miserables, and I probably butchered that name, but it's based on the famous book. Anyway, in the promotion of that film, for that film, she had basically been harassed aggressively and almost predatorily by the paparazzi. Matt Lauer goes on to say, quote, "Seen a lot of you lately," unquote. Lauer greeted the actor before asking, quote, "What's the lesson learned from something like that, other than that you keep smiling, which you always do," unquote. Hathaway responded eloquently about life in a, quote, "culture that commodified sexuality of unwilling participants," unquote. But the stench of the snide joke and an odd question remained. It was wildly off-tone and kicked off a vexed Oscar season in which Hathaway was wildly derided and mocked online. More recently, Lauer came in for justified criticism after a presidential forum which he hosted in 2016 saw him repeatedly interrupt candidate Hillary Clinton and pointedly question her judgment and fitness and lob softballs to candidate Donald Trump. Quote, "Lauer had turned what should have been a serious discussion into a pointless ambush. What a waste of time," unquote. This quote actually came from Hillary Clinton herself in her recent memoir, What Happened, and a recent contentious interview with former child star Corey Feldman about his plans to make specific allegations about sex abuse saw Lauer as Feldman was talking to the media instead of quote sitting down and talking to the police, unquote. A line of questioning that would seem to blame Feldman for being a victim in the wrong way. Now, might I add, Corey Feldman, for as weird as he acts, he has been consistent on that issue. In fact, he has spoke out online and on underground publications and media for years about the huge sex predatorial issue and molestation and all that goes on in Hollywood. This was the first time he had came out on national media and put it out there. But anyway, the article goes on to say, Lauer will eventually be replaced. Notably, his substitute on the morning show after his firing was Hoda Kotb. Very popular female anchor, by the way. But it's hard to imagine whomever comes in after him amassing quite as much fame, or as much seeming ability to question along whatever lines he sees fit, lines that are now well worth re-examining critically and carefully. Lauer was on his way to becoming a TV legend. Instead, he is just now another name on a long list. And that's how the article ends. Let me say, if Matt Lauer is actually guilty of what he's being accused of, yes, he should have lost his job. And yes, he should answer for it. But at this point, you have to say alleged, because nothing has been revealed and no solid evidence has been put out there. But I still do have to believe that if NBC put that out there and went ahead and fired him after only not even 24 hours of investigation, like 12 to 14 hours, there has to be something to it for them to do that. There has to be something to it. On the other hand, there has been an agenda, it seems, of feminism of all these cases now coming out. Now, some of them, like I said earlier, I believe, like Harvey Weinstein. Oh yeah, I believe him. Believe the ones on him. Because they actually have solid proof. They have him admitting on tape to apologizing for groping a woman. The very woman that he was having the argument with. That he was trying to get him to come watch him shower. Yeah, I will never let that go. And I could go into a rant in and of itself on that, but I'll keep that. It makes you wonder who else is next, though. And this is leading to another point. Guys, because I get asked all the time, man, Irv, how you work up there with all those pretty women up there? I was like, easy. It's my job to put a quality product on air along with the news anchors. It's my job to put it up correctly as they have scripted. It is my job to put up the graphics that they put in as scripted. It is not my job to go up there and whistle and flirt with women. That's not my job. I can find or talk to women through any form, whether it's over the internet, go out to the club, whatnot. I can do that on my own time. I can do that on my own time. And I liked what, if I can quote, I won't reveal his real name, but it's a brother that I've been cool with. I won't say we like good friends or nothing, but I've been cool with him for a minute, named Knowledge Speaks Truth. You've probably seen his videos from time to time. I like what his quote said, and I may have to edit it as I read it here. And brother, I hope you don't mind me quoting you, but Knowledge Speaks Truth says on his Facebook, Matt Lauer got his N-word moment this morning. LOL exclamation point. Guilty until proven innocent. Fired for sexual misconduct in the workplace. This is exactly why I've never had any romantic nor sexual relations with any woman I've worked with. And I've worked with some very attractive women. Side note, amen, brother, so have I. I've worked with, and I just read that part. Okay, here it is. Continuing the quote. Since the 90s, a lot of cats have lost their livelihoods over some vagina. Yep. A simple hello, body gesture, intimate setting can be misconstrued the wrong way. I'm like Nino Brown when it comes to my money. I don't trust a mother effer. Always keep it professional. NBC made a business move. No employee is ever bigger than the brand. Ed, brother has a good point. Brother has a very good point. This is a great example of why you should keep it business. And I'm talking specifically, I'm talking to the men in general, no matter race, creed, or color, if I may quote the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. But I'm talking specifically to black men, because you know the stigma and the stereotypes on us anyway. This is why when it comes to your job, it comes to your paper, you keep it business. Now in the case of Matt Lauer, he's lucky. He's had several years to amass millions and millions and millions of dollars. He's probably got some stuff, or hopefully he's got some money stocked away to where he's not broke and destitute. For his sake and for his kids' sake and his wife, I'm assuming he's still married. Hopefully he's got some money socked away. But for most of the rest of us that lose livelihood, like if you all of a sudden out of $20 million, but you've been making that pretty much regularly for the last several years, you probably ain't gonna be starving, especially if you've invested it and put it away wisely. and had trusted people to help you manage it. But if you're making $20,000 a year and all of a sudden you lose that, you might as well just get on welfare. On the serious tip, you might as well get on welfare. For real. So yeah, I've seen guys lose money just chasing the JJ. It's like what they say, and I'm going to paraphrase the phrase. You lose money chasing for JJ. But when you chase the money, you never lose the for JJ, if you get my drift. In other words, keep your business. And that's the best advice I can give. Look at this as an example. Don't mess with women at work. I don't care how fine she is. You young bucks, and even I can't even say just young bucks, because sometimes some of these older men be just as bad or worse, because nobody's ever really checked them. Nobody's ever really checked them. So all I got to say is I'm not gonna completely condemn Mr. Lauer, because it hasn't been proven as fact. But all I got to say is it don't look good. And like I said earlier, if NBC went ahead and canned him like that, they gotta have some kind of case. They gotta have some case. Because I can't see a conglomerate like NBC opening themselves up to a lawsuit. Because if they did it without sufficient evidence, that's opening yourself up to a lawsuit. And I don't see NBC doing that. I don't see them doing that. But anyway, that's all I got to say. I hope you enjoyed the old school music that I used to use for Sippin' Epidemic on all levels on my Adventures in Dating series. So for Grown Man Talk, as you smoothed out to the song Thank You by Joe D. I forgot the artist's name, but it's a YouTube used type music. You can find it on there if you ever make videos. But anyway, for Grown Man Talk, I'm Irvin Griffin.